God dang it.
Well,
Yes.
how many times have you watched a National Treasure in your life?
National Treasure? A lot. Die Hard's a National Treasure. Pokemon's a National Treasure. Wayne's
Maybe
World
not this National Treasure, but...
Wayne's World is a National Treasure.
No, but
Do you
I'm
mean-
talking about the
The
2003...
2004. Classic with starring Nicolas Cage.
Yes, that National Treasure.
I think I've seen it a few times.
As have I. Probably an unhealthy amount, all things considered.
Considering the amount of times you quote it in
Yes.
everyday life.
Yes. I'd say I quote National Treasure maybe once every couple days.
Days, minutes.
I don't know about minutes, but it is a film that we should talk trash
depends
about.
Depends on the day. We should talk trash about it.
We should start with the easiest thing to talk trash about, which is its historical inaccuracy.
Which part?
All of them. All the parts.
All
Specifically,
parts.
they claim that only 55 people signed the Declaration of Independence when 56 did.
Yeah. Who'd they miss?
They don't say who they missed. They were just like, it's 55 men.
55
It's because
men.
55 rhymes and not 56.
56 and Iron Pen. Mr.
Matlock can't offend.
Yeah.
So, yeah, very odd. But it is a good film. It did make a profit. They even made a second one. And we should be getting a third one within the next couple of years. Looking at you, Jerry. But
Yeah.
Nicolas Cage needs to get himself out of debt. That's why he's in like 6 movies a year.
Is that why?
Yeah.
I know he spends a lot of money, but damn.
Didn't he buy the only Mira SVJ?
He bought a Mira SVJ, yes.
I
But
thought there was only one.
There's only, we're getting into an entirely different topic, but there's only one Mura Hota.
Somehow.
He bought a crazy yeah.
Granted, he was one of the most, the highest paid actor in the 90s.
I would say, I feel like
peak Nicolas Cage.
I feel like if he was trying to pay off money, he could get bigger budget roles than he does. All the things he's in nowadays are like either weird art house shit or trash.
Or absolute trash.
Yeah.
Not unlike National Treasure.
I feel like National Treasure is less trashy than
It's
a lot of the things.
It's less trash than what he's making now, but considering the films he was making around that time, it's definitely the trashiest movie of his.
But see, the funniest thing about that is that it's the least cheesy.
Really?
What? Face Off?
Con Air.
Wind Talkers? Those are not cheesier than National Treasure? Those are totally cheesier than National Treasure.
No, I think National Treasure is cheesier.
The Wicker Man?
Okay, alright, okay. But
The one where he's a gun runner? I mean, I guess that's not supposed to be cheesy. You ever seen Lord of War?
I've never seen Lord of War. I don't actually have an encyclopedic knowledge of Nicolas Cage's
I don't
filmography.
either. I've seen a lot of them, though. Knowing?
Knowing was okay, but we're talking about level of cheese, and the level of cheese in National Treasure.
The only movie we've mentioned so far that was less cheesy than National Treasure is Knowing. All the other ones, and maybe Lord of War. All those ones that you mentioned and those other ones, like those are all worse. Just saying. I'm not commenting on the movie as a whole. I'm commenting on mostly Nicolas Cage's performance. Is that it's the most subdued performance.
Yes, for Cage himself, but as the movie as a whole, it's less cheesy than.
It's over the top. I wouldn't say it's
that chase scene in Washington D.C. where Diane Kruger's like hanging on the side of a freaking food truck. That's cheese.
Dude, that's just a Sunday night in DC.
It's Sunday night in DC.
Dude, you ever go to Chinatown?
I do think that National Treasure would have worked better as a movie if it existed in the 90s. I think the fact that it takes place in 2004 makes it even less believable.
It's both a very 90s movie and it's a very like 2003 2004 movie. That's like it really fits in with the cinemascape of the time, I think. But
what else came around? What else competed with National Treasure at the box office? We'll have to look that up.
2004?
2004, specifically honestly, November of 2004.
Yeah, earlier you said it was 2003.
What's the scallop? I'm Goofy Goober!
I'm trying to think of, but that's the only thing I can think of.
Wasn't Agent Cody Banks a Disney Channel original movie?
I don't think so. I think I saw it in theaters.
The second one was in theaters.
Oh, maybe you're right.
Either way, National Treasure is one of those movies that we know back and forth. I think the reason I know it so well, not only because I was a small, impressionable 8-year-old when it came out, but also because my father was able to create an entire unit in his class that revolved around National Treasure. He made a board game and everything.
See, I was just a nerd.
Which is okay.
I remember begging. I saw a trailer for it somewhere. I was like, "Can we go see this movie?" And my mom was a big U.S. history presidential nerd, and so we went to go see it. And,
a match made in heaven.
Yes. And so we went to see it.
But the movie is stupid. Like, it's enjoyable when you turn your brain off. It's one of those turn your brain off movies in the same vein as like Independence Day. You know, like it's got to be.
Yeah.
I mean, like. Because when your brain is on, you think about how ridiculous it is.
But I've never. Unlike some movies, it never invites me to turn my brain back on. There are movies where it blatantly calls out. It's like, hey, look how stupid we're being. National Treasure never really does that for me. That might be nostalgia goggles, but like it never quite. It's always silly to the right. It rides a fine line.
Yeah. There is that one scene where they're arguing in front of the Jefferson Memorial, and it's like 10 minutes after they escaped the National Archives, and that's a full, 8 minutes by car.
Maybe 8 minutes.
Yeah.
Like,
it's like
they're like 5 blocks.
They're like 5 blocks from the scene of the crime, and they're discussing it.
In a park?
In a national park.
Wearing tuxedos.
The Capitol, wearing tuxedos. Like, how have they not been arrested already?
That just reminds me of the one time. So, for reference, I have personal experience with this. I was volunteering on the mall, and some dude, I think he tried to hit somebody's car with a baseball bat at Lafayette Park, up by the White House. All I know is I was walking to work at the World War II Memorial, and suddenly, like, the world descended upon this one dude, and this one dude got tackled by Secret Service, Capitol Police, Park Police, DC Metro, and the FBI. There were 5. There were 5 different types of that all like converged on this one dude, and like that's what I think of. I'm like when I think of National Treasure, I'm like, this is the response I have seen. Yeah. So what stands out to you as the most unrealistic thing about the movie?
I mean, aside from the most obvious thing about being able to steal the Declaration of Independence, that's pretty fucking unlikely. Of course, the events of January 6th, maybe put that in a different context.
Delicious jams and jellies.
No, the preservation room is where everything is. I can't call this one line this one time.
all I can think of is delicious
jams and jellies.
I can't think of what he says either. Anyway, I have no clue what this actual security on the National Archives is. I do know that they never keep that main room where the Declaration is that bright. That always threw me off in that movie.
Yeah, it's super well lit, whereas in the actual National Archives, it's so dim because light will damage the documents.
So I actually talked to people because after I saw this movie, I was like, I need to go to all the places. Like, I'd already been some of the places, but I was like, I need to go to all the places.
National Treasure sightseeing tour.
Yeah. And I asked some random like attendant at the National Archives. I'm like, were you here when they were filming? And they were. And so I talked to them about filming National Treasure, and they were like, "Yeah, we took all the documents out and then brought the lights up." Also, they enter the National Archives through that big ass front door, which I've never seen anyone.
No, you always have to go in that little
little side tunnels.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many things when they're in the National Archives that are just ridiculous. Like every shot where they're handling the Declaration, I just want to go, boo!
Well, especially because they're like
rolls it up.
Yeah, they're like someone who handles antique documents is gonna do it, and then they're like like have you ever rolled up a poster? It never unrolls. It's 200 years old. They're gonna unroll and it's gonna.
Yeah, well, not even that. As soon as he would touch it, it would disintegrate. It's fucking sheepskin from 1776.
Yeah.
So stuff like that.
That is one thing that always strikes me is how like relatively rough they are with that piece of paper. Like, yikes. But the DC things, every movie that's set in, if you know a city and they film a movie in a city, it never makes sense.
It never makes sense.
Yeah.
The other thing, someone did it on the internet where you track the turns they make in the chase scene directly following.
Oh yeah, that's never gonna make sense.
That's never gonna make sense in the layout of DC.
Yeah, that's absolute chaos because they're just cutting together whatever they drove.
Yeah, and whatever street they closed.
Yeah, whatever streets they were able to close at the time. So yeah, that's never gonna make sense. That's a given. Yeah.
Score's great.
Yeah, true.
One of Hans Zimmer's best scores.
Oh,
Not clearly.
Did Hans Zimmer do that?
I want to say Hans Zimmer did that. Yes. The internet will prove me wrong if it's not.
Let me look this up on my. Oh, I gotta load the other disc in here to get the internet. Yeah, no, the score is good. Like, that's the thing is, it's just a well-made movie.
It's a well-made movie.
They got Harvey Keitel.
They got John Voight.
I do like.
They got Angelina Jolie's dad.
Blew
my mind first time I heard that.
My favorite implication of the end of National Treasure is that it doesn't matter who actually committed a crime as long as you just arrest somebody.
Yeah, somebody's got to go to prison, Ben.
But like, it doesn't have to be someone remotely involved in the thing. Like,
Ian is not guilty of crimes,
but they're arresting him for stealing the Declaration of Independence, which he didn't do.
Well, I think if you actually listen to the crimes that they list off, they do not.
Are they arresting him for breaking into the Old North Church?
Well, trespassing on government property. That's the last one.
Yeah.
Then it was armed robbery, kidnapping, and conspiracy, I think. Or no, attempted murder.
Okay, so the attempted murder, a conspiracy because they can get Ben and Riley to testify. But how are they getting him on armed robbery? It's weird to think about how they're proof. I think the case is pretty flimsy there on a couple of those counts. Tax evasion.
Hey, that's how they got Al Capone.
Yeah.
It is funny, the names in
Benjamin Franklin.
So obviously all of the members of the Gates family are named after founding fathers. You had John Adam Gates, you have Patrick Henry Gates, you've got Benjamin Franklin Gates. But
is Christopher Plummer John Henry Gates?
I believe so.
Okay.
But the antagonist's name, Ian Howe was one of the generals for the British, two generals in the American Revolutionary War. They followed that through.
One was a general, one was an admiral of the Navy, I believe.
Same with Diane Kruger's character. You have Abigail Chase is a combination of Abigail Adams and Samuel Chase, one of the signers of the Declaration.
I didn't think about the Samuel Chase thing. I always thought about the Abigail.
The only one that doesn't fit, the only main character that does not
Riley.
fit is Riley. There's no historical figure in American history.
If you think about that makes sense because he's the one who doesn't fit.
Aww.
No, but historically wise, because he's not. All the other ones are like in it for the Abigail and Ian and Ben are all in it for the history bits.
Yeah.
They're the ones who are interested in the treasure. He's just kind of there. He's there for the large bluish green man with a strange looking goatee.
I'm guessing that's significant.
Exactly. And he doesn't know how to drive stick.
Yeah, it's so cringy now that I know things about cars. That
Also, it
pulls away in that Ferrari, you can hear the gears grinding.
But it's funny because you can see that the car is not jerking; it's just pulling away smoothly. So in reality,
added that sound.
Yeah, they added that sound.
So so another thing that I have about National Treasure, specifically the ending, so they're walking that final scene after they get off the phone from the museum in Cairo, and they say that they offered Ben 10%, and he turned it down because it was too much money. Well, if his estimate in the church was right of $10 billion,
what's 1% of 10 billion?
$1 billion. No, they offered him 10%.
Oh, they offered him $1 billion.
They offered him 10%, and he turned it down. So they offered him $1 billion, and he was like, "That's too much money."
True.
I think there would be several people who would disagree with that. That also means that Riley gets 1/2 of 1%, which is
50 mil.
50 mil.
That's
a decent amount.
Is that actually a number?
Yeah, 50. 50's a number. It comes right after 40.
No, I know, but my head math is bad, and my PSP doesn't have a calculator.
You didn't buy the downloadable calculator app?
No, it was actually a dongle that connected onto the accessory port right here. Yeah, that's pretty decent. But also, so did Riley pay $50 million for a 360 Modena?
I don't know.
Or see, that's what makes me question my math. I'm like, did he pay way too much for that Ferrari?
He does say he's sitting on 0.5%, which always, as a kid, made me feel that the 1/2 of 1% that he got is that car.
Yeah,
which would mean that a 360 Modena Spider is 50 mil. It's not even $500,000 when it was new.
Yeah,
somebody saw him coming.
Yeah, or they just wrote the line based on an expensive car
that they could get.
Yeah. And they wrote it just based on any expensive car, and then they're like, okay, get a Ferrari. Yeah. And that was the Ferrari they got. Like, they didn't even they could have gotten an Enzo. That was the year the Enzo came out.
I mean, you're right. Yeah. But there are only like 100 Enzos in existence, aren't there? Or no, there are 500 in existence.
There are 399.
And there are 400, but the one doesn't count because that one Enzo went to the Pope.
There are 399 Enzos, and then there's the Pope Enzo.
The Pope's Enzo.
And it's white.
Of course it's white. Why wouldn't it be white? Anyway.
Yeah, but he donated it to charity, I think.
Of course he did. Yeah. Because he's the Pope.
Dude, can you imagine Pope Francis rolling around in a white Enzo like he's fucking Don Johnson? Beautiful.
Someone write that fanfic. Someone make that film. Yeah, National Treasure. A movie that we quote endlessly. What are your favorite National Treasure lines to quote?
Not to be a nudge.
It's a good one.
I know what your favorite is.
My favorite is it's from the scene where they're paying for their clothes in Philadelphia.
It's a Mariner. It's a diver's watch. I dive with it. It's actually quite valuable.
Yes, it's from that scene where Riley knows
where they're in
an
Urban Outfitters. Yeah,
we didn't miss it because you don't know this.
He loves to pull this out at all times.
Is this what it feels like to know something that you don't know? Let me just take in this moment. Is this how you feel
all the time?
Except for now. I do that all the time. Whenever I have the upper hand of knowledge about someone else's obsession. All the time. All the time. It's great.
It's true.
It's great.
It's true.
There's also a very simple line that my dad will quote all the time. He'll just say, "I'm fine," from when they're experimenting on the Declaration, and John Voight's character walks away. He's like, "Dad, why don't you get some rest?" And he'll just call from off camera, "I'm fine."
She needs heat.
You need heat.
Start in the oven.
Not hot. It's great. It's great.
It's not a line, but I love when they're at John Voight's house and he's like, "There's some pizza," and Riley's in the middle of eating pizza. He's like, "What do you have? This? You have him?" And Riley's just like with half a piece of pizza in his mouth.
Perfect. Beautiful. I found the Charlotte.
The Charlotte? You mean she was a ship? We haven't seen this movie too much.
I think the last time I watched it in its entirety was 2018. I watched it at the campaign office I was working at.
Define in its entirety.
From beginning to end.
Didn't you and I watch it not too long ago?
How long is not too long ago?
Sometime over the summer. There might have been.
There might have been some involved
imbibements.
Might have been.
I remember you and I watching it and quoting it at each other.
Yes, we had a quote off. I do remember where we would try to quote every single line.
That was within the last year or so.
Okay, then
I think that might have been a different event. I think at my apartment over the summer, I think we might have just put it on while we were doing something else. I think it might have just been
just some background noise.
Yeah.
Well,
anyway, last time I watched it was like last week.
let's talk about the second one.
Oh God, I've seen the second one maybe 2 times.
It's not as good. I feel like the writers and producers felt like, all right, the first one is central, or it's the history to it is about the American Revolution. Therefore, the sequel has to be about the Civil War, because that's what the background plot is. The history part of it has to do with the Civil War.
Is that about them framing what's his name for Lincoln? Oh yeah,
They're framing.
Isn't Ed Harris the bad guy?
Ed Harris is the bad guy in that, and Helen Mirren shows up, I think.
Oh right, she's his mom.
Yep. Even though in the first movie they make you think that his mom's dead. They make
I had your mother for however short a time.
However short a time, it's like that makes you think she's dead,
that
but
does,
really they
does.
just got divorced. Yeah. That's what we call lazy writing.
Yeah, that's what we call a movie that wasn't intended to have a sequel that ended up having a sequel.
Yes. And like the treasure at the end is basically just El Dorado.
Yeah, it's just El Dorado.
But El Dorado's been done before. It's been done in animated films. Why did they feel they had to have that as the treasure? Just
because everything's done El Dorado. I don't know.
What's going to be the treasure of the third one?
The friends we made along the way.
What is that originally from?
G.I. Joe? I don't know.
What is that originally from?
After school
The real treasure was the friends we made.
I'm assuming it's some '80s show like
I'm sure
like G.I.
80s.
Joe, where it's like knowing. I know knowing is half the battle. I'm pretty sure is actually G.I. Joe.
Sounds about right. Sounds like G.I. Joe.
But there were all those shows where like the after school specials where it was like there's a moral to the story kind of things.
The other thing about the sequel that's really lame is that they split up Ben and Abigail in between the movies, so they can have the exact same arc.
You mean like
of them
you
getting
mean like
together?
every single movie ever?
Yes, every single lazy movie does.
Yeah, every single lazy sequel where the two people get together at the end of the first movie, and then at the beginning of the second movie. My first thought is the Jurassic World movies did that.
The Jurassic World movies do that. My immediate thought was the Ghostbusters did that. In between Ghostbusters 1 and 2,
you're pulling up all these sequels that I've seen maybe twice
because they're shitty.
Like who has watched National Treasure 2 and Ghostbusters 2 more than like maybe twice?
That's a back-to-back.
Like I feel like I have seen those movies more than like 95% of the population.
That's probably the case.
I've seen both of those movies twice. I went back and watched Ghostbusters 2 like a couple of years ago, just because it was after the new one came out, but it was because everyone was complaining about the 2016 Ghostbusters. I'm like, let's see if this movie's as bad as I remember. It wasn't as bad as I remember it, but it's still really bad, especially compared to the first one. First one, 2016, somewhere hovering in the middle. 2. It's down there.
Yeah, the gulf between Ghostbusters 1 and 2 is not as big as the gulf between National Treasure 1 and 2. I think. Because
the writing is worse in Ghostbusters 2 than it is in National Treasure 2. But in Ghostbusters 2, the actors' charisma and chemistry on screen makes up for more of the disparity than Nicolas Cage and Diane Kruger and whatever Riley's actor's name.
Jacob Batalon?
I honestly couldn't tell you.
Justin Bartha.
There you go, Justin Bartha. That's it.
Jacob Batalon, I think, is Ned from Spider-Man: Homecoming. I don't know why I pulled that name, but I did.
Anyway, just not saying they have bad chemistry, just saying it doesn't make up for it as much as the other ones do.
No.
But
what is going to be the line to the camera? Or the Nicolas Cage is staring into the middle distance and says a line dramatically. In the first one, it was, I'm going to steal the Declaration of Independence. In the second one, it was, I'm going to kidnap the President of the United States. What is going to be the dramatic thing from the third one? I'm going to kill the ghosts of Osama bin Laden.
I'm going to steal the Statue of Liberty?
Okay, David Copperfield.
Some David Blaine shit up in here. I don't know. What else is there to do?
I don't know. That's
He's gonna steal the White House. Oh wait, no, they already made 2 movies about that.
They already did movies about that shit. They came out the same year.
Yeah, it should have been National Treasure, but one of them should have been National Treasure
3.
Just imagine how much better it would have been if Nicolas Cage showed up to help Russell Crowe or Gerard Butler or whichever one it was.
Oh, do you mean Channing Tatum?
Sure. No, I was making a joke about me confusing Russell Crowe and Gerard Butler as the same person, which I
How do you do that?
When they
one's
were...
Scottish, one's Australian.
Russell Crowe's Australian?
Yes. He's an Aussie.
News to me. This is how I got them confused.
Look at you not knowing the nationality of famous actors.
I'm American. That's what I know.
And as Americans, we like National Treasure.
Yeah, we do like National Treasure.
Someone's got to go to prison, man.